I'm David Mbai. I'm 23 years old, very comfortable with my age, and I work at CBA. I've been working there since June this year. Started off training, and now I'm full-time in the marketing department. And I can say it really is worth it. I like getting up in the morning. Banking isn't exactly what you'd think of it as. It's not the dream per se. It wasn't my dream, certainly. I wasn't planning on working in a bank to start off with anyway. But it's great. What excites me about my job is that it's very different every day. I don't wake up and do the same boring thing from 9 to 5 every single day. Most days are different. In this job, especially with the learning curve, I feel a lot of days I'm spending my time either learning something new and how to use it in my work, or experiencing something I never did before and seeing how what I learned is connected to it. So studying political science at university was the most fun I'd say I've ever had so far in my life. I enjoyed it for the fact that it allowed me to have a lot of the conversations I never did get to have at high school, especially when you're learning. So in high school, it's all about English literature, maths, especially early on. You never have a conversation about taxes, healthcare, things that you might think about, or maybe you don't, but once a conversation started, you actually don't have many answers to. I'd say after those 3 years, I'm definitely passionate about it now. I spend a lot of my time either reading about it, learning more, and actively engaging with the space, as it were. I worked in the county government, Nairobi County government to start with, and then moved to the National Assembly. The first experience in county government was, as you'd expect, a bit chaotic, all things considered. But it definitely taught me a few things, especially tested what I'd already learned so far. Moving to the National Assembly was where I really got the chance to now test what I knew and learn very quickly what it takes to work in politics. And I have no regrets about that time. In fact, I really want to go back, which is what shocks a lot of people when they ask me about it, is that I actually want to go back. Yes, it is frustrating. I can see why people are afraid of that space, but it isn't for me so much. I don't know why, but I like the challenge. I appreciate the challenge. I can see why people wake up in the morning to do that job, and it's just fueled more of that in me. So I want to get back there and start making a change. Things need to run. So taxes are an unfortunate part of daily life, but my one thing would be making sure that they are fluid, in that no two people are taxed the same. That's the most important part, because not everyone is in the same area of their lives. And the most important change I think needs to be made is that taxes need to work for people. It's very well to say that we're taking 15% of your paycheck, if it's 15% or 30%, and putting it into healthcare. But if you don't need healthcare, and the large majority of people don't need healthcare, it makes no sense to say that's what it's for. So it's not so much a new take in that it's been done before, but my approach would definitely be to dedicate a lot of my time to working on the tax brackets, working on who earns what and how much they deserve to have taken from them to be spent somewhere else. And the most important part is to be lifting people out of poverty. So not a handout in so much as it's giving them money, but a lot more of help that they need. Because eventually the goal should be for them to be earning enough money that we're doing the same thing to them and giving it to the other people who were in their position not too long ago. So not Robin Hood, but taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor. We have dreams way too big for our heads. I'd say that's the biggest misconception I hear a lot of the time. Obviously, working in parliament, you hear a lot of people tell you what you should be doing, like studying law or becoming a banker. And it's not so much that we're on our phones all the time as disrupting the industry. A lot of people who you see spending their time on their phone taking selfies are actually making a lot of money and doing a lot, yeah, you'd be surprised, doing a lot with their lives. Just because they don't look like anything special doesn't mean they're not. And you hear a lot of things about Kim Kardashian or another famous celebrity who just spends her face on cameras, spends her time on cameras, sorry, and it's actually making her and her family a lot of money. Money is not the goal for a lot of people. It's doing their passions. And the number of people who I see who use Instagram for taking selfies, there's also the same number of people, if not more, using it for sharing their photos and becoming great photographers. It's just a new way for us to express our individuality, unlike people who came before us. We are a very young country, and there's a lot made of the fact that not many of us are employed. And that's true. It's a very difficult time for a lot of young people struggling to get work, making ends meet. I just think we need more opportunities, which is an easy thing to say, because even people older than us don't have opportunities sometimes. But you'd be surprised what an empowered young individual can do. Empowered in work, in money, in lifestyle. But you'd be surprised at what they can actually comprehend. A lot of people think that 17-year-olds don't have a lot of stock in what's going on, but you'd be very, very surprised. And I would argue that a very motivated, underappreciated 17-year-old can do a lot for someone in a very conventional industry. What's fascinating is that a lot of people aren't afraid of having defined goals so early on. There's a lot of people I know who are very established in their careers already, doing a lot of great things, but others who just have no clue what they want to do the rest of their lives, 5, 10 years down the line, some even maybe a year from now, to be honest. And it's quite comforting to know that there's other people who aren't so sure about the way their life is going, but are just taking comfort in the fact that they're taking steps to improve their lives. Getting a degree, getting a job, leaving the house and making friends, if that's as simple as it is, because obviously there's people who struggle with something as simple as that. It might seem simple to us, but it's actually a big deal. So just the small things that people do in their daily lives that gives them comfort. I'd say my generation, or at least people who are young in general, are learning to stop and smell the roses. I think too much we place emphasis on you need to have a job by the time you're 23. That's a lot of the things that people say to young people. You need to get your degree by a certain age, you need to go out and get a job after your degree within a year, you need to work for 5 years, maybe you need to get your master's. I don't think it's so necessary to place that much weight on doing those things. I met people at university who are well into their 40s getting their first degree. And yes, they did for whatever reason and they're in their 40s and they're getting a degree. But just as many of them were choosing to go to university as were leaving university for me. I had friends who came at the same age as me, except this was not for them, went off and did other things, and they're very comfortable with that. And at first they thought, this is what I need to do, this is what I want to do, I know this for a fact, and they get there, life changes, they don't think it's what they want anymore. So knowing what you want to do isn't as important as making sure you're making yourself happy. And I don't mean to say that you should just sit on your mom's couch for the rest of your life playing video games, but you definitely should at least take an afternoon off one day and discover what the world has to offer and see where you fit in. And if it means that you're going to go from job to job for the next year until you find something that you actually like, that's perfectly fine. 5 years from now, I see myself in a serious policy role, either locally or internationally. I want to have already had my master's degree or be close to getting it, at least, with a clear indication that I'm going to work in policy. So something resolute. It'd be funny, 5 days ago, if you'd asked me this question, I thought it'd be as simple as education or healthcare. But the environment is slowly turning into something I really care about. And I'm not saying that I'd limit myself to policy in the environment. However, I'd start there, I think, because I consider it one of the most pressing needs of our time. My experiences with the AI are very limited. I don't really work with or use AI that much. But I find the subject fascinating. There's a lot that is going to change in our day-to-day lives. I think the most interesting development in AI, for me personally anyway, is Google Duplex, and the idea that your assistant on your phone is now going to become your real-life assistant. So for those who don't know, but I assume there's very few, Google Duplex is where the Google Assistant can now interact with regular people on your behalf. So the way I saw it was at the demo, you ask your assistant to book an appointment for you at your salon. and the assistant now calls the salon and has a conversation with the person who receives the phone call. I'm not sure how real this was, but that person didn't seem to know it was a robot talking to her. And that for me is like the dream, is an actual robot that does, it's not physical, it's not the Terminator, it's not something that will end up turning against you and just destroying the world physically. But it's quite cool that you can get something like, or something simple like booking an appointment done by someone else, and it's not a real person. You don't have to hire this person to now make your phone calls for you. It's refreshing. You know, it actually challenges what we think of as a job. So there's a lot of things that AI will change for people's work. There's a lot of things you will do. Personally, working in marketing at my age, I'm slightly worried that there's a lot of things that AI could do to replace me, especially in the digital space, because so far, a lot of it is interacting with social media. And I'm sure that Google, Microsoft, they're all coming up with algorithms that can do that job for a lot of companies at half the cost. One thing I would like to say is that being my age, it's hard to think of being in a job, paying taxes and living life as it were. But it's been challenging, but fun. It's taken me out of my comfort zone, so to speak. I was in a bubble before at university, as most young people are. And as soon as that bubble burst, it became its own new playground of things to do, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. So I can't wait for what tomorrow has to offer and the day after that.